Hey guys, another video here. We got um, just a video for twink leveling. It's gonna be a bunch of different, mostly item sets, as you see here, and I'll fill out more over time, and then maybe a skill or so in here if it's like a special item set. Um, which is the ignite ones using a Barath's hooves, and you should have links in your Barath's hooves, so I supplied that there. Um, but yeah, uh, to work in progress, but I think I have enough here to make a video at this point. So uh, yeah, I'll just start going over it. The goal of this POP is for people to be able to level up with an item set or whatever, strong items, and not have to like respec their tree a lot. And I'll teach you how to use it in a sec here. This green text you see at the top is the intro to the POP, and down here, how to use it. So you choose an item loadout with similar scaling vectors as your desired character's passive tree. If that's confusing, that wording. So I have down here each of these item loadouts. And this is where you actually choose them under the item section. So I'll just click on, let's see, the first one is Elemental Attack Widow Hail. So yeah, there's that one, items. And then, so when I say scaling vectors, I'm talking about mostly just the passive points on the tree, because that's what this guide is focused on. You being able to use the same tree that you're leveling with, instead of having to like respec a bunch after you finish leveling. So passive points, and then keystones sometimes as well. For Elemental Attack Widow Hail, I probably didn't cover all of them, but I tried to cover most of them. Any of these damage types, elemental, projectile, on the tree. So like elemental damage, projectile damage should be down here. Hopefully you get what I'm saying there. Any of those, attack speed, critical strike, elemental pen. Yeah, so you see those are the, if the build you want is following, or if the build you're following is taking a bunch of these nodes, then the item set that goes along, like these items here in this loadout, should be able to level you through the campaign pretty easily. That's the goal of this POP. So I'll give you an example now. I'll just go to one of my other builds. Alright, so here's a POB that I had for the Winter Orb endgame. There's a bunch of different loadouts. I just chose the endgame loadout. So what you're looking for here is the scaling nodes. We have Elemental Overload as a keystone, and we have, let's see, a lot of cold damage, it looks like, and some spell AoE, and yeah, so that's about all. Now we'll go back to the leveling loadout, and we'll look for the loadout here, which has similar scaling vectors. So it's a spell user, area, and cold. I already pretty much know which one it's going to be, but for people that don't know, it was an elemental spellcaster, and yeah, it's right here pretty much. You do have two options though: energy shield based, which is pretty rare for twink leveling, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you're familiar with energy shield builds or life based. Anything that doesn't have energy shield based in here is life based. Life based is always going to be smoother, but for all the energy shield builds out there, will require more respeccing. So that's why I put in this energy shield based one. But yeah, so I would normally choose elemental spellcaster. You don't have to choose that one. This one up here, cold dot and elemental attack widow hail would also work. Cold damage. Actually, I didn't put air. Oh, cold air area. I have both of those, and then elemental damage, cold damage. Yeah, that would both work. Elemental overload, both of those. So there's a lot of flexibility in here. Like, you don't have to level up with the exact same archetype. You can choose ones which are similar in strength, and you might even prefer to level up with something else. So there's a lot of flexibility here. But yeah, before I move on to what I want to go over next, I want to cover a more complicated situation. So I got another endgame setup here. And I chose this one specifically because there's a lot of cluster jewels. And you might not be able to afford those clusters early on, or I don't know what the situation is, but there's not a lot of nodes on the passive tree that are going to match up with the scaling vectors that I listed in the POB. So what you're going to do in these situations, so pretty much when you're going into a POB like this and you're not looking at these clusters, you're going to look at nodes that are nearby your the pathing. So we have a bunch of spell damage nodes here, which are easy to take. We could take lightning nodes, we could take cold. Pretty much you're just looking for nearby nodes that you can take and aren't going to cause you to respec too much. Like, you're not going to go all the way down here, or like, something that's within probably a point. So elemental damage would work as well. So, and spell crit. We do have a little bit of ignite chance already. So say you wanted to go that route. Go. There's another ignite wheel right there. Some damage over time right here. Elemental overload is nearby. Yeah. So pretty much just ignoring the clusters and looking for those. And keeping in mind with those things I just said, I would, in this situation, I would take this, or I would go for the ignite version. And there's also a bunch of life nodes I could take. So I would go like life nodes and then fire nodes, elemental overload, damage over time. I would do all those nearby, and then that would keep respeccing to sort of a minimum. And then go into the twink leveling POB and choose the ignite loadout, which is also listed in here. And yeah, so we're covering already a bunch of these. We're nearby elemental overload as well. And this loadout here should feel real good for leveling that tree up, even though it's mostly just clusters and stuff. So yeah, even in situations where your endgame tree is looking, you're not taking a lot of passive points, just look for nearby nodes. So I added a line in the how to use section for that situation I just covered. Hopefully that covers, or I explained that decently enough for people to understand. If not, if you're still confused, let me know in the comments and I will address whatever confusion there is. Now I'll just cover some short stuff in the notes section. I'll have alerts here, signaling stuff that you need to watch out for. I created this POB pretty much entirely inside of POB. I didn't really copy and paste items outside of POB. So it doesn't always get the corrupt item level requirements correct for unique items. So any uniques with corrupted implicits, like this one here, Pyre, the item level requirement might be different from what it shows in POB. So keep that in mind when you're buying it, and like knowing when you want to equip it or not, especially important in the early levels. And another note alongside that one, these POBs, these item loadouts are guidelines. This one right here has Nikta's lantern for the ignite setup. It's very strong, but it requires level 41. So you're not going to be able to use it until you're already halfway through the campaign. So you're going to need to be able to figure out other options inside here that I already listed, or just leave a comment and say you're confused and I can tell you which one. So yeah, just quickly, I would, for this ignite build, I would choose Axiom Perpetuum for the early levels. And then what else? The taming cannot equip until level 30. So instead of the taming, I would use the pariah set rings. And for the pyre, pyre's early. You could also just use double pyre. And then yeah, everything else is pretty low level requirement. I guess the fox shade is not, so instead of the fox shade, you could either use ghost wraith or tabula rasa. I didn't have it in there, but I added it right there. It's not a great, it's a good leveling item, very flexible, but fox shade is just so much better. So I didn't have it in there yet. But yeah, getting back to the notes. So there's a lot of loadouts in here. It's not exhaustive, an exhaustive list. I'll add more over time as I figure out more tech, or people recommend more tech, but this should cover a lot of the different archetypes that are available. And then the last thing, I have a tech section here. This is the most interesting items in my opinion, and like made a huge difference until I found these out. So if you just want like to know about tech, leveling tech, that's interesting and don't really care about using the loadouts or like looking through all of the different items, then I'll try and list the most interesting ones down here. For my favorite one is the Quicksilver Flasks Enkindled with increased effect. Enkindling doesn't increase the item level requirement, so you can use level 4 Quicksilver Flasks Enkindled with 70% increased effect. And I usually run 3 of them, and it has pretty much 100% uptime. You do have to manually click them, but that movement speed bonus is huge early on. Another one is Ixchel's Temptation Ring. I have a bunch of different versions of it. It's a ring, I think, that only drops an ultimatum, and it can have up to 200% quality. The ring is totally different depending on what quality it has. As you see here, this caster version has way more added fire damage to spells than this attack damage version. So you're going to want to look out for rings with the high quality and like the archetype that you're using. But this ring fits into a lot of different builds. It's really strong for leveling. It has a super low level requirement too, only 20, and you get a ton of power out of it. Another one, oh yeah, Mage Blood, obviously. If you can afford Mage Blood, use it. It's amazing. And then another one, Taming. Actually, let me format this a little better. All right, that may be better, easier to read now. So the Taming is another one, especially if you have quality on it. And it's pretty easy to apply multiple ailments in the axe. You can see here, Taming is adding 46% increased elemental damage with hits per elemental ailment. And you should be able to apply Shock, Ignite, and Chill for an easy 240%. This this is counting for 2 tamings. And then some builds will be able to apply a 4th ailment, or even like more than that, with like brittle, scorch, and sapped. So that would go even beyond 300% increased damage. So taming, that's like all the damage percent you need. Percent damage increases you need for the axe, and you can sell that just from the taming. You wouldn't need any on your tree at all. So that's a really, really strong leveling option, and a really low level requirement too. Another one, Circle of Ambition, only requires level 20, and you can get Fizz, Fire, Cold, or Lightning increased damages. And you can probably do that with the other circle rings, so keep an eye out for those ones. And that's all I have right now in the tech section. I'll add more to it as I see fit, or as other people see fit. And yeah, that's about all I'm gonna cover. I'm not gonna go over each of these. Feel free to browse yourself, like each slot for all the different items or the loadouts. And yeah, this will be a growing POB over time, hopefully. And maybe I'll make a better video eventually explaining it better, but this is what I got for now. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.